Hello and welcome to Piano Shack with me, Woody. Thank you very much for tuning in. In today's video, with the help of one of my viewers, I'm going to give you an introduction to the Roland Sound Canvas series of modules from the 80s and 90s. And then we'll do one of my trademark audio shootouts of the software versus real original hardware. All that and more coming up. Actually, there isn't any more than that, but it's enough for now. Let's get started. I've been intrigued by these Sound Canvas modules for years, but I've never actually owned one. What they are is a little desktop module device that you connect to your computer or a keyboard, and then you can play General MIDI sounds. It's often used to compose and play back game music and just music tracks and covers and things. Thing is, I don't know very much about them and I don't own one myself, but fortunately one of my viewers, a gentleman called Speedy, who I got to know over on my Discord server, I'll put an invite for you in the description. Yeah, Speedy knows everything there is to know about these Sound Canvas modules. He's got a bunch of them and he's even got his own YouTube channel where he demonstrates them and shows how he composes music with them. It's really cool, well worth checking out. I'll put a link in the description. Anyway, I asked him if he would be interested in collaborating with me so we could make an interesting video all about the Sound Canvas, and also if he could share some of his MIDI tracks and his audio tracks with me so that we can do a shootout up against the Roland Cloud virtual Sound Canvas software plugin. Fortunately, he said yes, and he sent me an awesome video segment which I'll play for you right now.
Hey Woody, thanks for having me in the show. It's great to be here. So, I was brought on here since I know a bit about the Sound Canvas family, so before Woody shows off the hardware and software comparison, I'm going to talk a bit about the history of the product so we all know what we're dealing with. Launched in 1991 with the SC55 and ending a decade later in 2001 with the SC-D70, the Roland Sound Canvas family of synthesizers was kind of like the unofficial successor to the Roland MT32. Just like the MT32, they were aimed at amateur musicians looking for something with sounds closer to studio quality than cheap keyboards could provide. In particular, Roland was trying to appeal to the desktop music market, with musicians who wanted to work from their home computer, which is reflected quite heavily in the marketing of the Sound Canvas family, being sold in Japan in the Muji-kun kits that made hooking up and using the devices dead simple, and in the design of them. The SC55 was only 1 3/4 inches tall, making it easy to fit in cramped spaces or under objects like small computer monitors, and later models didn't get any wider or more inconvenient to store, just a little taller as was necessary to cram more technology in, topping out at 3.5 inches with the SC8850. Since the beginning, one of the best and most appealing things about the Sound Canvas series was that their comparatively low price point of $800 to $1,000 in small size didn't cause Roland to have to make any particularly bad compromises in terms of quality or sound variety. The SC55 offered 317 unique instruments and 9 drum kits, with sounds ranging from jazzy saxophones and woodily ethnic sounds to classic Roland synth sounds and great drum kits such as a nice TR-808 reproduction and the very heavy power kit. Complementing this are what I consider some of the most user-friendly digital synth editing interfaces ever made, with great button layout, easy access to very basic sound editing options, and logical button combinations for functions like instrument soloing, and great compatibility with the General MIDI and Roland GS standards, which made it super easy to collaborate with other Sound Canvas users and musicians across the world. Roland kept releasing variants of the SC55 up until 1994 when the SC88 launched, a major upgrade to the 55 that added 13 new drum kits and over 300 new sounds, many of which were taken from the JV and SRJV line of products, resulting in a synth that to this day still sounds quite fresh. 2 years later, Roland would reinvent things again with the SC88 Pro, adding hundreds of new instruments and a Boss effects processor with 64 effects, including things like an amp simulator, guitar distortion, stereo delay, gated reverb, and many other popular effects. This change basically made every prior model obsolete for music creation, and as a result, the 88 Pro served as a basis for the next model, the SC8850, which didn't really do much to reinvent the formula, though it did add a couple hundred new sounds, a USB port, and broke backwards compatibility, something the Sound Canvas series had always been very good at. All in all though, the Sound Canvas family ended up being a great success overall, and nowhere is that more evident than in the realm of games. Beyond being many people's preferred choice for playing back MIDI-based music and DOS games, some retail games actually use the Sound Canvas family for music. The most famous example is Final Fantasy VII, which sampled the base SC88 quite heavily alongside other synths, but there's more extreme samples out there. Neon Falcom's sound team were clearly pretty big fans of the Sound Canvas family, releasing an album dedicated to SC88 arrangements of their classic tunes, and supporting it in titles such as the Windows remakes of the original two Ys games, with alternate soundtracks in the form of SC55, SC88, and SC88 Pro MIDI files, but my favorite example of their work with them is Ys 6. As well as being an excellent game on its own, it also has a standout soundtrack that uses the SC88 Pro as its primary canvas to paint the soundtrack that mixes atmospheric tunes, rock, electronic, and everything in between into 32 overall tunes of pure goodness. Perhaps the most recent example is a game coming out around late 2018, early 2019 that I've been doing the music and sound for called Necrolepsy. The full soundtrack to this game was done on the SC88 Pro with no external mixing or mastering, and so far, everyone I've shown the soundtrack to has been pretty impressed with what's been accomplished with it. Sound canvases have also seen some use in more traditional music releases though. Rei Hatakami used two 88 Pros to create some very unique and experimental electronic music, and I've used mine before in my single, Reflection, and in my EP, Time to Think, for some additional sounds. So with enough creativity, you can really get whatever you want out of these things, which I think is a testament to how well designed they are. I tried to keep this explanation as brief as possible, so if you're curious about the Sound Canvas family as a whole and want to hear something more in depth about them, then stay tuned on my channel as I plan to take a closer look at the 88 Pro, the 8850, and the series as a whole. Now, the good news is that if you want the particular sound of the sound canvases, then you don't have to hunt down the original models on auction sites anymore, as Roland released a VST called Sound Canvas VA back in late 2015. At only $125, it's quite a bit cheaper and more accessible than a real Sound Canvas model, and it comes with some benefits such as a higher sampling rate and bit depth than any model, except the SCD70, which is equal to it at 24-bit 48 kHz. It also doesn't have any sound coloring due to DAX, something that I'm sure people would debate is an issue with the SC88 Pro, which is a darker sound than other similar synths at the time and later Sound Canvas models. It's also 100% compatible with the four most popular models, the SC55, SC88, SC88 Pro, and SC8820, with the SC55 being particularly cherished by the retro gaming community for its popularity amongst DOS game composers in the 90s. I haven't heard a lot about how it handles SC88 Pro music though, so for that I gave Woody access to the original MIDI file for the track Intensity off of my aforementioned EP, and he ran it through the VST. So I'm going to turn the show back to him and you'll get to hear how the two compare.
Thank you, Speedy. That was really epic. And now I'm going to show you around the virtual software version. So here you have the Roland Virtual Sound Canvas up on the screen, available on Roland Cloud, but Speedy tells me you can also buy it outright. You'll have to check for yourself, I'm not sure about that. So here is the main interface. You can see all your various tracks. The screen here looks pretty much the same as the hardware, I do believe, and I can step through the different MIDI channels using these buttons there. If I want a more detailed overview, I click on the Part button, then I get a list of all the currently assigned sounds to every single track with their pan, volume, and effects controls. If I want to edit them in detail, I can do so, and here we get access to many of the synthesizer parameters such as filters and so on. Let's see if we can go back to the part view. There we go, and let's close that one as well. Before I do that, let me just show you there are some quite comprehensive master effects as well, which are assigned on this little page. And we also have a system panel here where I can choose what kind of sound canvas I want to emulate. For the comparison, we will be using two of Speedy's original tracks that he has composed himself. He sent me the MIDI files with all the program change data, the volume data, effects data, and so on, plus obviously the notes and so on. He sent me the MIDI files, and he sent me some audio files that he recorded directly from the outputs of his Sound Canvas SC88. Don't remember right now as I'm saying this exact model, if it's the Pro or not. I'll put a little pling down in the bottom of the video. What I've done then is to play his MIDI files through the software instrument and then captured the audio output as a WAV file. And then what we can do is compare my WAV file with Speedy's WAV file and see how the two instruments compare. As I play the audio for you, you'll be able to see me switching between the tracks on the screen, but let me quickly explain to you what's going on just so that you know what's happening. So we have 3 tracks on the screen. At the top we have the MIDI track that Speedy provided. I'm going to play that for you now. And as you can hear, that's not making any noise. That's because I'm not sending the output of this plugin anywhere right now. I've muted it. See, it's not going to the master send. And the reason I'm doing that is just so that as we're playing the audio demonstrations, you can see this nice visualization on the screen. So this is just for the eye candy, really. In the middle here then, I'm going to do a solo on that one. We have the tracks the track that Speedy recorded on his Sound Canvas SC88 Pro hardware. And you know when that one is playing because you'll see the VU meters here on the track going up and down, also down here on the bottom in the mixer. And then I can just switch to the audio that I previously recorded from the output of this VST plugin. And then what we'll do is just switch between these like this as the track is playing, and you'll be able to hear for yourself how close they sound. Let's play the first track, which is a somewhat more conventional MIDI arrangement. In the second track that I'm going to play for you now, Speedy is really pushing the sound canvas to the limits. He's using a lot of strange effects on the drum track, for example. So this is a real good test of the authenticity of the software plugin. Let's take a listen now. The one thing I will say about that is there's obviously some EQ differences between the hardware and the software, and one reason could be is that the hardware only has 32-bit DAC, digital to audio converters, whereas the software I'm running at 48 kilohertz. So it's a bit more high fidelity top end there, which I think sounds rather nice. But I'm not going to say much more about my opinions right now because I don't want to influence you, and I think the real value to this video would be to read your comments down below. So please do share what you think about the results of this comparison. So I look forward to reading your comments. Thanks ever so much, and yes, I do read every single comment that you post. Once again then, a huge thanks to Speedy for making that intro segment. It was a great way for both you and I to learn a little bit about the Sound Canvas modules. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel and subscribe if you're interested in music for DOS games and these old retro sound modules and all that kind of thing. There's lots of good stuff over on his channel. That will do it for today then. Thanks ever so much for watching as always, and thank you very much for your comments, for liking and subscribing, all that good stuff. I will see you again soon. Cheerio.